So right now, Joe Biden is in the last poll in Wisconsin up by over 20 points. I think the last number I saw was 27. So, wow, man, the people of Wisconsin really want Joe Biden. So what are we complaining about? This is it. I mean, if the polls hold and that's the result tonight, well, the voters have spoken loud and clear. Okay, well, let's break that down a little bit. In mid-February, there was 2 polls out, and at that point, Bernie Sanders was leading in Wisconsin by 12 points and then 17 points.
Wow.
So that was a month and a half ago. So a month and a half ago, the people of Wisconsin decisively wanted Bernie Sanders. Then Biden started winning states, and once they did, a combination of 2 things happened. One is the natural phenomenon that drives me crazy, but is real, where people want to support a winner. So they go, oh, okay, all right, well, I guess Biden's winning, so I don't care about policy. I'm just going to vote for the guy who's winning. I don't know why people do that, but they do that. It's totally irrational, but they do, and that's a real phenomenon outside of the media. Okay.
But can I jump in on that?
Yeah.
Don't forget your point. But I see it happening all the time in other contexts. Like it happens in sports all the time, for instance, the whole fair weather fan thing. And it's because we have to think about politics in the way other people consume it and react to it, right? Most Americans are not paying super close attention to policy proposals. And you're right, people do want to support a winner, which is why when you hear conversations about momentum, it actually is pretty important. When a candidate has momentum, let's say coming out of Iowa, for instance, that's pretty huge. That's why the whole Pete Buttigieg story was so big.
That's right. So, and then as things went along, by the way, then it went from Bernie to a Biden up by 11. I'm doing this from memory, but about 11, 17, and then above 20 points. So overall, in the last 6 weeks, over a 40-point swing in the state of Wisconsin. So what's the second factor? The second factor is the media. So now, by the logic I just gave you, and remember what Anna said, Bernie won Iowa, then he won New Hampshire, and then he crushed in Nevada. What should have happened next is the media then says, oh my God, we got a runaway winner here, winning the first 3 states and now decisively. But they did not say that. Instead, what they said is, oh no, Bernie Sanders has got to be stopped. The Democratic Party is looking to figure out how to stop him. This is a potential disaster for the Democratic Party. And instead of giving him positive momentum, they slammed on the brakes. And they said, well, they got to do everything they can to stop Bernie. Everybody's talking about stopping Bernie. There was a built-in assumption that they programmed the audience with that in this case, winning was bad. Yep. If Bernie's winning, it's a bad thing. You guys should all be really, really worried because we're all really worried. I mean, we're worried because we're incredibly rich and we all want more tax cuts, whether it's Biden or Trump. But you all need to understand that this is a moment that is bad, okay? Yeah. And you saw that all across cable news, no question about it. 1 or 2 print articles came out saying like, oh, I guess maybe Bernie could win. And I even got a little hopeful at that point. And then, of course, another tide of print articles saying Bernie's a communist, we can't let this happen, blah, blah, blah. Now, the straight news reporting doesn't say we can't let this happen. It's between every sentence. Now, socialist passed Bernie Sanders is a big potential problem for the Democratic Party. I'm just reporting what other people said. I talked to 7 Democratic consultants. They all agreed it was a giant problem. Oh, my God, can you believe what he said about Cuba? It's the same thing as Obama said about Cuba. No, I'm not going to say that. I'm not going to report it. I'm going to report Bernie Sanders is a radical who's going to run away with the Democratic Party. Then, the minute Biden wins in South Carolina, boom, right back to winning's awesome. Biden's got momentum. Everybody, it's Biden. It's Biden. It's Biden. And then next thing you know, Biden then wins Super Tuesday. And by the way, Bernie won the state of California, the largest state, won Colorado, won a bunch of places on Super Tuesday. It was not how they portrayed it. Yes, Biden won. We were expecting Bernie to win. Biden won. We're honest about that. We were honest about it that night. We're honest about it today. But if you watch the mainstream media, it seemed like, oh, that's it. It's over. Biden blew out Bernie as if Biden had won California, as if he just landslide. No, he did better than expected, but at that point it was still close. But then the tsunami of media coverage. Biden, it's over, Biden's the winner, Biden. And then Bernie Sanders' polling numbers in Michigan, Wisconsin, and places where he was doing well, the state of Washington, they nosedive because the media told everybody, remember, Bernie winning is terrible, and now Biden with a slight lead means it's over and Biden's your nominee. And here we are, 44-point swing later in the state of Wisconsin. We're seeing if Bernie has any chance at all. And the reality is, with this level of literally hundreds of millions of dollars of propaganda against him, it's hard to see how he could possibly win.
Yeah, and there have been actual studies to back up what you're saying. Studies that look at specific mainstream media outlets and compare the positive news coverage to the negative news coverage on given candidates like Bernie Sanders. And there was one report about the amount of negative coverage on cable news outlets like CNN. And so the vast majority of their news pieces have been negative toward Bernie Sanders. And so every once in a while, we'll get comments from people who will support any Democrat, doesn't matter, they just want to get Trump out. And I understand that emotion 100% because I despise Trump. And they'll argue that we're just bitter. You're just bitter because the candidate you like lost, but he lost. But here's the thing, it's not, if Bernie lost fair and square, if there was equal footing and, the establishment candidates, Joe Biden, had the same type of coverage that Bernie Sanders does, it's a level playing field, then that type of critique toward me, toward us, is valid. But here's the problem. It's not valid because the media coverage has not been fair. It's been incredibly biased and slanted against Bernie Sanders. And at this point, look, good job, mainstream media. You guys got what you wanted, okay? But here's the thing. Now you have a deeply flawed candidate who you've sold to the American people as the most electable. And to be quite honest with you, I think he's the least electable for two major reasons. Reason number one, you can go ahead and gaslight us as much as you want. He 100% is experiencing mental decline. We're seeing it in real time. It is a problem. And number two, those sexual assault allegations against him are also a problem because it leads people like me who desperately want Trump out of office to sit back and really start questioning whether I'm comfortable voting for a Democratic candidate who has a very credible sexual assault allegation against him. Like, how do you respond to that? Do you tell me, oh, well, he only has one sexual assault allegation as opposed to Trump's, I don't know, dozens? That doesn't make me feel better. At the end of the day, you're still asking people to cast a vote for someone who's dealing with a serious accusation that no one is willing to investigate. And I think that's a huge issue.
So in a second, I want to give an update on how apparently unlikely it is that we're going to have really any results today. I've been hoping that something would change. But anyway, I'll give you that in one sec. But on what you were talking about, though, I would only add in terms of how they responded to Biden's wins when they started, or even before then, when Bernie was winning, it wasn't just that it didn't count, that it didn't make him, the front runner, but also that the people that tragically millions of Americans trust for their news every night, big names like Chuck Todd and Chris Matthews, were telling their viewers, you should be terrified by this. This is like the Nazis invading. This is like the brown shirts. You should be very, very scared of this candidate and anyone who supports him. Definitely don't be one of those supporters. They are brown shirts after all. You don't want to be a part of that group. They would never have done that to literally any other candidate, but they did. And as you were saying, Anna, they got their candidate, right? They got the guy they wanted. And look at how disinterested they are in actually talking to him, how little they care about what he has to say or what he plans to do. They care about as much about it as Joe Biden appears to. My most recent op-ed in The Hill was, does Joe Biden actually want to be president? And I'm watching every day, and it doesn't really seem like it. I mean, he's trying to wrap this thing up. He wants an end to the election. He wants an end to debates, which means there will be an end to the media having even an excuse to pay attention to what he's doing. They are not very interested right now, even when there is technically like an election going on. If there was a debate, people might actually tune in. If this is over, if we're done, in the next couple of days and Bernie drops out, you won't hear a peep from Biden for literally months. And honestly, considering how his last few appearances in the media have gone, that might be for the best for him, but it's damn sure not the best for the country, for anyone who wants Trump to lose in November.
Yeah, let me combine a couple of points that you guys are making. So when you have sexual assault allegations against Biden, that's hovering out there. And look, us talking about it, they say, oh, that's verboten. You should lie to your audience and pretend it didn't happen. Okay, I'm not going to do that. So if you have evidence that it didn't happen, for God's sake, share it. We've said 1,000 times, we want to know if it didn't happen, because it's not fair to Biden if it didn't happen. But nobody will report on it either way, because that's mainstream media groupthink. That they don't really cover the news. They cover their narratives. And they talk about narratives all the time. If you're a reporter, why do you have a preset narrative? How absurd. Okay, but what it does do is it eliminates Biden going on the attack on all of Trump's sexual harassment, sexual assault, and sexism issues. Because then they know for a fact Trump's going to counter with things we would never say. But he will say easily and all the time until all the press is doing is talking about it. So now apparently Trump's sexism is off the table. We're going to have a candidate who's not going to talk about it at all. Disaster. Then secondly, Trump has mental decline. But now Biden can't talk about it because then Trump would counter with his mental decline. Oh, Jesus Christ. One of the biggest problems that Trump has is he's an idiot. I mean, look, he was an idiot before mental decline, but he has these moments where he doesn't seem like he knows what he's talking about, very similar to Biden, etc. But now we can't talk about that because the Republicans will counter. So many things have been taken off the table. But most importantly, to the point that John is making, Biden, like Bernie's out there talking about, my God, we got to do Medicare for all. Look at what's happening with coronavirus. Why? Because there's a reason he wants to be president. He's been dying to do these policies for the last 45 years. That's why he fought so hard for them. Whereas Biden, what is the policy that Biden is dying to do? I can only think of one. He says he wants to cure cancer. That's great, awesome. Not really what a president does. I don't mind him trying. That'd be fantastic. And I know that he actually does care about that because his son died from cancer. And that's heartbreaking. And I love that he's driven by that. But that's very specific to him, right? And if he does it, it'd be wonderful to the whole nation and world, etc. But all he can do is assign more money to it. Is he driven by any other policy where he says, no, guys, I got to be on NBC, ABC, and CBS tonight because this is a perfect moment to make up my policy points? Of course not. He's not driven by any policy. And so he wants to be president because he wants to be president. And so what is that going to do? It's going to lead to a candidate who tries to coast. We had one in 2016. How'd that turn out for us? And because of his potential mental decline issues, they're going to try to hide him even more. But you know how you lose an election? By hiding your candidate. If by not sending them to Wisconsin and Michigan and all those places you need to send them to, by not getting the free media. Trump had about $1 billion advantage over Hillary Clinton in free media because he was all over TV and Hillary oftentimes went hiding. Well, if you thought Hillary's hiding was a good idea, wait till you see hiding Biden. We are setting up ourselves for a disaster. And finally, on that point, we warned against it throughout. And of course, since if it turns out we are right, we will obviously be blamed for it. They will say, how dare you be right? It was your fault that you even brought it up because Republicans can't look at video. Republicans can't go on the internet. They wouldn't have known any of those things if you dastardly progressives hadn't brought it up. And why did you warn us about the iceberg? If you hadn't warned us about the iceberg, we probably wouldn't have run into it. Now, none of that makes any sense, but they said it last time, and I guarantee you they're going to say it this time. But for us, the most important thing is we got to beat Trump. So I hope to God that we're all wrong. I hope Biden beats him easily. And on election night, I'm telling you with a huge smile on my face about how terribly wrong I was and how Biden beat him easily. And it turns out he didn't have mental decline. He did great in the debates. and it was just momentary lapses. It was no big deal, et cetera, et cetera. And it turns out the New York Times had secret evidence against Tara Reid, and we didn't even know. And then they revealed it, ta-da, et cetera. I don't know. I'm not rooting against Tara. But I'm just telling you, if it turns out we're wrong and Biden wins easily and he was a great candidate, fantastic. But right now, what we're seeing is an iceberg straight ahead. And tonight, with Wisconsin primary, maybe being the last one, the iceberg is within inches of us.